Hello and thanks for staying on LN 24/7. This is Politics Now. My name is Morno Balagbogo. Quite a show we've got packed for you today. First, we'll start with Osun politics. We're looking at the battle for control of local government. Let's take you down through our talking points. First, we'll talk about the confusion over the appeal court ruling, and then we'll look into the invasion of local government secretariat and conducting free, fair, secure local government poll coming Saturday. Our guest tonight is Kolako Alimi, the Commissioner for Information and Public Enlightenment, PDP. And of course, our second guest is a member of the APC who served as former SA on education to the Osun State government. His name is Jamiu Olawumi. And then later on the show, we'll focus on the national economy, talking about Nigeria's inflation now at 24.48 after CPI rebasing. Our talking point will focus on the implications of rebasing versus economic reality on ground. Our guest is no new timer to the show, Dr. Aliyu Ilyas, economist, and of course, supply chain expert, customer service and CX expert, and Arthur will be with us shortly to stay with us. We'll be right back to break it down for you. And so we begin. The crisis over the control of local government secretariats in Osun State on Monday worsened as 8 persons, including a local government chairman, were reportedly killed and scores injured as elected local government officials on the platform of the All Progressive Congress APC resumed offices at the various council secretariats. Now, while the state government said the People's Democratic Party, PDP, lost 5 persons, the APC said 3 of its members were killed. The PDP and APC have been laying claim to the control of the council areas, with the APC claiming that the appeal court had reinstated the sacked elected council chairman and councillors. The Osun State government, however, countered that the election was nullified by a federal high court in Osogbo. Now, this is where it all began. As early as 8 a.m., the elected council officials mobilized to resume at their offices at Borikpe, Ilesha West, Ibokun, Odotun, Iwo, Yedade, Ishokon, and Irewole local governments areas, amongst others. However, in a move to stop the chairman, thugs suspected to be loyal to the PDP in the affected areas stormed the offices and were shooting sporadically into the air. And in an attempt to resist them, another set of thugs suspected to be loyal to the APC countered the move, which resulted in casualties, scores dead. Now, reacting to the killings and invasion of the council secretariats, Governor Adeleke, who took to his ex-handle, directed security agencies to take charge of all local government secretariats, just as he called for an end to the bloodshed.
It had nothing to do with the sacking of the chairman and councillor produced by the Osun 2022 local government polls. The chairman and councillor were sacked by the 2 different judgments of the Federal High Court, Osogbo. The script Mr. Oitola is playing is about the most reprehensible abuse of power.
The suit filed by PDP was struck out by the Court of Appeal, and of course, by implication, the judgment, of course, was also struck out. That means PDP never brought any action, and there was no judgment. There was no order, no consequential order, or the Court of Appeal did not even consider the issue that borders on restating the sacked chairman and councillor. It was never considered by the Court of Appeal.
We have been civil and law-abiding. That is why we have been seeking every legal means to ensure that the law take its due course.
It is surprising, however, that the government has begun to deploy so many tactics to avoid enforcement of the judgment, which ought to be automatic and immediate. The Governor Ademola Adeleke and his men had at initial stage alleged that the judgment did not reinstate the SAC officers, but after the colossal failure of these tactics, they rushed to order lower court judgment of the APP.
Now, the former National Publicity Secretary of the All Progressive Congress, Timmy Frank, has called on President Bola Tinubu to call the Minister of Marine and Blue Economy, Gboyega Oyetola, and his APC thugs to order. That's an allegation that we'll be checking out with our guest today on the show. Now, a Court of Appeal judgment was interpreted differently by APC and PDP, and that's why we're having all of this upheaval in the state. Meanwhile, Adeleke and Oyetola have strongly disagreed over the alleged reinstatement verdict of the appeal court. While Adeleke had insisted that the SAC Council chairman cannot return to office, Oyetola was of the opinion that the appeal court judgment will be implemented through the instruments of the law. The Commissioner for Information in Osun State joins us now. Thank you, sir, for being with us.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you for this opportunity.
So what can you tell us about the situation right now in Osun State? We hope that things are calm, and our condolences goes to everyone who lost a loved one in the, nonsense local government crisis that is going on in your state. But what can you tell us at the moment regarding the atmosphere politically?
The situation that happened on Monday is quite unfortunate, and we pray such a thing should not repeat itself. 6 good citizens of this state lost their lives, despite the warning of the governor to the effect that people should not take law into their hands. People did, and it caught anybody. However, to God be the glory, throughout yesterday, we didn't hear of anything. And this morning, up to this moment, I can only speak for the available facts with me as at now from the morning. So far, everything has been quiet. And as I've already stated, the election that is coming on Saturday, by the grace of God, will go as planned.
Now, Honorable, this seems to be the confusion over the appeal court ruling. Your party is not saying eye to eye with the APC. Can you just clarify your stance on the appeal court and why you feel that those who were sacked back cannot resume office?
There is no, there shouldn't be any ambiguity. We are just being Nigerians. The court, by provision of Section 6, is empowered to interpret law. And so when a court interprets law, it is not supposed to still be subject to any further interpretation. The provision, the order of the court should be as clear as possible. And wherever there is a dispute as to interpretation of a judgment, the judgment benefactor or judgment creditor, whatsoever, will go back to court and let the court know that, yes, my lord, we have obtained judgment. This is the judgment you gave us. There's some people are saying this is not the judgment. The court immediately will enforce whatever be the judgment. You understand it? In this instance case, we have explained and re-explained to the whole world that after the former governor Oyetola lost election in July 2016, he quickly rose to conduct election, and he had 3 months left. The law prescribed that a notice to be given for local government election now should be 360 days. So there was no way he could get that one. So he gave 2 months. And all the political parties at that time, they told him that this is unlawful. But since he bent on going on, others said they will not participate in the election. And that was the reason why they have to issue ballot of yes and no. Well, 2 of the political parties believe that boycotting the election alone will not suffice. The People's Democratic Party, PDP, approached the courts, and Action People's Party, APP, also approached the courts. The judgment was given by the Federal High Court in respect of the PDP case on 25th July. The judgment was given in respect of a APP case on 30th July. 30th November. The one of PDP was 25th November 2022, before the swearing of the governor now. And that of the APP, the judgment was given on 30th November 2022. The two judgments are separate. The Federal High Court did not consolidate it because nobody made such an application. In that kind of situation, I think what's supposed to have done was for the suit to be consolidated so that the judgment will suffice. So the Federal High Court delivers separate judgments annulling the election and sending the product of the election, the chairman and councillor, away. In the judgment obtained by the PDP. In the judgment obtained by the APP, the court did the same thing. Now, after the judgment, the APC, who happened to be respondent in the two cases, they appealed the two judgments. However, they could not find any argument against the judgment of the court on the merit as per the notice. But unfortunately, in the case of PDP, the PDP are addressed to court when press release, OSEC made the press release. And so addressed to court before the notice was published. And when the notice was eventually published, the PDP applied for amendment, which the court granted. And that was upon which the judgment given. So the APC, having been clever by half, they saw they would not succeed on the strength of the case. So they abandoned the appeal they filed against judgment obtained by APP. And eventually, by later on, the APP applied to the Court of Appeal to strike out the appeal. And the appeal was struck out by 13 January 2025. That made that judgment subsisting. Now, the one of PDP, eventually, the court found out that there was no cause of action because the case was filed when notice has not been given. And so the originating summons was struck out. The suit was also struck out. In the prayer of the APC before the court, their prayer one was the appeal should be allowed. Their prayer A was that the suit should be allowed. Their prayer C was that the suit should be struck out. Whereas their prayer G, you can ask them to read their prayer G, that they should be reinstated. The court declined this, that it amounts to academic exercise, that the moment they have struck out the appeal, everything relating to that one has gone. However, their position now, what they are doing now will have been very correct. Had it been there is no subsisting judgment of the Federal High Court, which the Court of Appeal has affirmed by January 13, in the case of APP. But they are trying as much as possible to pretend as if that judgment does not matter. And since the Court of Appeal has not consolidated the two, the appeal in that one will not abide by this. More so that the court did not struck out the case of PDP based on the merit of it, that the notice given was adequate. It was struck out because the originating summons was incompetent. So this is elementary for anybody who ordinarily does not want to cause trouble to understand. However, let us not agree with them. That's me without considering that you are saying you have an order. There is a procedure for enforcement of order under our law. You don't need to resort to self-help, but they don't want to go by that procedure. They are bragging to use federal might because they are targeting two things. They are targeting a situation whereby we will not be able to conduct the local government election, and at the same time cause enough mayhem so as to allow the president to declare the state of emergency. This was stated on the national TV very, very recently. So that is the situation as it is now.
Now, let's talk about the loss on both sides. Members of the APC said they lost some individuals, and also your party, the PDP, lost a couple of lives, and God rest their souls. But do you take accountability for the lives that has been lost?
I told you that there is no ambition that's worth the life of anybody. And it's quite unfortunate. You know, when the NOGE and the NSC, when they sensed the desperation of the APC to go ahead, they withdrew their services, they withdrew their member from the local government. And all the local governments are currently under lock and key. The question is, how did they get in? You know, our people here, they love the governor. When people had gone to the local government to continue to loot the government property, people want to react. Because even after you have a judgment and you get to the local government and you discover that the staffs are not there and the local government, they are under lock and key, I think the best thing for you is to retreat, and then you do the needful. Either you use the judgment enforcement procedure, or you write the Court of Appeal, you do something, or you even write the governor. But a situation whereby you boggle the key, you forcefully enter all the offices, and with so many people looting, then people reacted at what is all this? And so that was the reason why you see all those things. How on earth will somebody who say want to govern the people will go and boggle the place where you think you want to boggle? And it's just a comedy because we are running a system. If the system is not there, can the local government chairman operate in vacuum? The answer is no. So they should toe the path of law. And as I'm saying, there is a rule, there's a procedure for enforcement of judgment. Let me give you an instance now. If, as a landlord, you give your house, you rent out your house to a tenant, and maybe later on the contractual agreement between the two of you goes sour, and you want to eject him. If you go and resort to self-help, either you lock the key yourself or you remove the iron sheet as they used to do in the olden days, you will be guilty under the law and you pay damages to the tenant. What you do is to apply to the court to get judgment. And let me equally tell you, immediately you get judgment and you serve him, and if he still refuses, you will still not resort to self-help. You will go back to the court. It is the court registrar that will now write the police with the presence of the bailiff. The bailiff will accompany the police to the place, and then they will now say the place will be forcefully open. So there are a procedure of doing things, but because they know what they want to achieve, they want to achieve a situation where they will create chaos, and there and then they want to foist a state of emergency of the people of Osun so that they can come through the back door back to power in Osun, because they know any election in this state now, they cannot win. Our governor is performing. So they are doing everything possible to make sure they make the state ungovernable for the governor. And you know, that's part of the deficiency in our system. The commissioner of police will not take order from the governor, will take order from Abuja. The director of DSS will take order from the Abuja. The commandant of civil defense will take order from the Abuja. That is what they are relying on. Even despite the fact that the governor happened to be the chief security officer. So that's what they just say they want to use a federal might. And we know that God might and people's might is greater than any federal might.
Now, let's talk about the security operatives. There's been a lot of ramblings, and I won't call them ramblings, but rather speculations from your party that the Commissioner of Police was not really, responding to the call of the governor in terms of, bringing peace. That has resulted. If the police were actually there, are we even going to be talking about some of the lives that has been lost? So would you say federal might was used to cause mayhem in the state? And what's the connection of Oyetola? I'm aware that he's related to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, but does that guarantee that he's in this fight with your party to ensure that the APC elected local government chairman resume office?
Now, the connection he has is that, he's a nephew to the president, and even without consulting the president, in the villa, they know him to be relative of the president. He can easily drop the name of the president for the NSA and for all the people, and they will do the bidding until our situation on our constitution is amended to the extent that police should not obey unlawful order. We will continue to witness this kind of things. It's a bad loser when you the entire scenario. I told you that he started thinking of conducting local government election after losing the election in 2022. He has all the time to conduct the local government election. He didn't do that. But alas, throughout 2019, he didn't do that. He got to power in 2018. 2020, he didn't do that. 2021, he didn't do that. And 2022, the beginning of the year, he didn't do that. He started all this hula baloo after losing the election. But what can we do? That is Nigeria for you.
So let's talk about the election this Saturday. Will the APC participate?
I can't speak for them, but we know the election will go in. However, they have submitted the names of their candidates. Their logo will be on the paper, on the ballot paper. Everything has been set. So, they will not allow the election to be truncated.
We would not want to see another reverse case scenario in Osun State. So what is your charge to the opposition?
Our call to our people is that generally we should allow peace to reign, and that we've told the people that even if they go to the secretariat today, we will just see that one as a comedy. We should just allow them to continue to demonstrate their comedy, because you can't do anything in the local government without the local government system. They should continue to allow them. They should not allow any lives to be lost again. There should not be any demonstration, any reaction. People should allow them. Let anybody want to enter the office of the chairman, go there and do that one. At the appropriate time, we'll take stock of all the property looted, and at the appropriate time, they will answer for it.
Now, since you are not so confident about the security architecture in the state to conduct this election, I mean, what do you feel? I mean, how are you going to guarantee law and order during the course of this local government election?
See how it goes. When we get to the bridge, we know how to cross it. But what we know is that the election will not allow the conduct of the election to be.
Once again, thank you so much, Honorable Commissioner, for being with us on the show.
Thank you very much for this opportunity.
All right, we have the rep for the APC joins us now, former SA Education to the Osun State government. Mr. Jamiu, thank you so much for being with us on Politics Now.
Thank you very much.
So a lot has been said by the commissioner. Of course, he's speaking for the PDP. Let's start with your reaction to all that has played out so far regarding the appeal court judgment that your party feels, reinstates local government chairman.
In natural fact, the incident, sad and ugly incident that occurred on Monday was avoidable. They were all avoidable because from the day a judgment is delivered, at that hour, the judgment begins to take effect. So on February 2nd, on February 10th, when the appeal court in Akure delivered the judgment that APC chairmen and councillors that were rudely and cruelly sacked by Governor Ademola Adeleke of Osun State in 2022 were the rightful leadership of the local government as expressed by people through the ballot. And we came back, reported to the Commissioner of Police, who said we should wait for the certified true copy of the judgment. In fact, the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice also demanded the CTC. And when the CTC was obtained, the governor here, Governor Ademola Adeleke, went on here in an international press conference that somebody was taking advantage of being close to the president to destabilize the peace of Osun State. And obviously, he has veered off the point. He has veered off because nobody is talking of person here. And it is not an executive matter. It was a judicial matter. Judicial matter that brought him in as the governor of Osun State. Because he challenged, his victory was challenged by former Governor Itola at the tribunal, and he lost. Then he went to the Court of Appeal. He won. Itola went to the Supreme Court. Still, Adeleke won. So it's a product of judiciary. It's not only, it's a product of ballots, even contentious, but it was affirmed by the judiciary. So when this one happened, and he's trying to be clever by half, and they're calling names, and that we knew, because intelligence also revealed to us that they have brought in courtists and talks. So I won't be mentioning names because when it gets there, we'll talk about it. So when the CTC came, the Commissioner of Police, the Office of DSS and the Civil Defense in Osun State, they were no longer listening to his perversion of justice. They led us to the council. As at 9 a.m. on Monday, we had recorded successful taking over of 17 local governments out of 30 plus 1 in Osun. They brought in their talks to be driving people out of the secretariat, and they started shooting. And then they killed one of our chairmen and one councillor in Iriwole and Ishokon. That was how it happened on Monday. But I have joy to inform you and people who have viewed us that the tactical command sent by the Inspector General of Police to enforce the law already here. And as I speak to you now, about 15 local governments are now active with their chairmen and councillors and the tactical command of the federal government to enforce the law. It's not a matter of whether they are APC or APM or PDP. Justice is justice. If they don't understand the meaning of that judgment, they should go back for interpretation. And there are a lot of records that confirm that precedent. Let me give you this for free. In 2009 and 2010, the electoral litigation between former Governor Fayemi and Segun Oni went to the appeal court, which was the highest court then. When they were to do rerun, they did not understand which area the rerun of the election covered. They went there, and the Court of Appeal spread out and listed every unit, every ward that were going to be election. In fact, for local government, it was not part of litigation, but the Court of Appeal included 2 wards in F1. So what is difficult in you to go, if you don't understand what they are saying, go to appeal court for interpretation. If not, go to Supreme Court instead of bringing in courts to be killing Osun people. That was the succinct account of how it happened in Osun State.
Now, let's talk about the lives that has been lost. I spoke with Honorable Alimi, and he, in some sort of way, took accountability for the lives that has been lost. It made no sense that had to happen. But I want to ask you, as someone speaking for the APC, do you take accountability for the lives that has been lost due to some of your party agents being violent?
It's being clever by half. Let me give you an analogy. There's a lady who is carrying a pregnancy. 2 men were contending it. What do we call the checking of DNA now confirmed that one of the 2 is the owner of the baby. Will he be fighting on the day of naming ceremony? The man who lost the house must have gone there to fight him. They won't wait for the rain to crush them. Even if they are to throw stone, they must reply them. So if somebody is saying it is, you cannot be dancing with drumming to the council, and you are still holding cutlass or gun. It's not sincere about his position. It's not sincere. However, on that day, he was on radio, multicast, 8 radio stations, inciting people of Osun State that they should not allow them, that they take photograph, they should record, they should do all those things, to also confront them. Even in his local government, report the local government. Alimi is not truthful. I'm sorry to say, it's not truthful.
I want to ask you this question. Is your party going to participate in the election this Saturday?
Which election? The offices are not vacant. Why are you talking of the election? When they are enforcing judgment of people who are removed from office, who are going to spend another 3 years, they are talking of an election. But now they want to do World Congress. That's what it's going to terminate into. They are doing World Congress, not election.
Interesting. So let's say that they do hold the election. Would you challenge the process?
There's nothing to challenge. When court has given you judgment, what are you challenging again? My brother, will you go and challenge anything? They are to cry about, let them start to cry about and telling lies on the internet and on television that allows them.
I wanted to talk to you about the security in the state, most especially the Commissioner of Police. In your own opinion, do you think that the police has been biased in approaching this local government crisis case?
Let me tell you the irony of a lawyer who is talking like a carpenter. There's a judgment they want to enforce. Your governor is the chief security officer of the state. The police and security agents are not listening to him because he's trying to perverse justice. So it is left to them. That's their own cup of tea. If because of your bias, your perversion of justice, and attempt to disrupt your own government, they are not listening to Adeleke, I cannot cry wolf where there's none.
Now, what's your reaction to the fact that a lot has been attributed to Oyetola, who happens to be the Minister for Marine and Blue Economy? I mean, that he's the one fighting this case. And does this jeopardize the government of Deleke?
Let me react this way. In this issue of judgments and local government election, in which way does it concern Oyetola? Oyetola is a minister. He was a former governor here. There's a judgment of Court of Appeal. Governor Deleke does not want to obey the judgment of the court. How does Oyetola come into this? Is Oyetola Inspector General of Police or Director of DSS or Commandant General of the Civil Defense? When people are lying, you should also know. Look straight into their face by your training. You will see the lies on his forehead. If you look straight into Alimi's face, you will see the lie on his forehead. So there's no way Oyetola is coming into this. He's the leader of the party, yes. His party won, yes. But it's not in charge of any security agency in Nigeria.
So what's the way forward, and how can peace to be ensured in this particular local government situation?
Don't worry yourself. The way forward is already being implemented. The tactical command of Inspector General of Police is already in Osun State. They have led the chairman into their offices, and work is going on. There's no other way forward.
Honorable, thank you so much for being with us. That's the much that we can thank. Thank you for staying with us.
It's my pleasure. Thank you very much.
All right, we'll continue to monitor developments in the build-up to the local government election in Osun State. Keep it locked right here on LN 24/7. But for now, we'll go on a quick breather. When we come back, we'll change gears and begin to talk about the national economy. And I mean, there's quite a whole lot for us to unpack. Stick around. Dr. Ali joins us shortly.
What makes the political system what it is today? What are the recurring issues?
Order.
The tussle for power.
An extremely problematic area.
The tension. The instability of the system. Join LN 24/7 as we take you inside the local and international political arena in the world of politics.
Apologize for saying that I was corrupt.
I'm not here to call out his lies. Everybody knows he's a liar.
Watch politics now on LN 24/7.
Don't miss Politics Now on LN 24/7.
Glad to have you back with us. Nigeria's headline inflation dropped to 24.48% in January 2025, following the rebasing of the Consumer Price Index, according to the National Bureau of Statistics. This represents a decline from the 34.80% recorded in December 2024. Now, the Statistician General of the Federation, Adeyemi Adeniran, disclosed this at the unveiling of the rebased CPI report in Abuja on Tuesday, explaining that the rebasing was necessary to ensure a more accurate reflection of inflationary pressures in the country. Adeniran said the CPI rebasing involved shifting the base year from 2009 to 2024 to better capture changes in consumption patterns, pricing, and household expenditures. He noted that Nigeria had not rebased its CPI in over a decade, even though the exercise is typically conducted every 5 years to reflect economic realities. Now, food inflation for January 2025 stood at 26.08% year-on-year, showing a decline from 39.84% in December 2024. And further analysis by the NBS showed that urban inflation was 26.09%, while rural inflation stood at 22.15%, and core inflation, which excludes farm produce and energy, was 25.59% in January 2025. Now, Adeniran said the rebasing involved consultations with key stakeholders, including the CBN, International Monetary Fund, World Bank, United Nations Economic Commission for Africa, even Budget, and the Nigerian Economic Summit Group. And meanwhile, in all of this, the CBN Governor Olayemi Cardoso says the Apex Bank is determined to curb inflation and stabilize the nation's economy. And he said it in Abuja during the Monetary Policy Forum and featuring fiscal authorities, legislative, private sector development partners, subject matter experts, and scholars. I want to read some of his thoughts. He said, managing disinflation amidst persistent shocks requires not only robust policies, but also coordination between fiscal and monetary authorities to anchor expectations and maintain investor confidence. He says the focus must remain on price stability, the planned transition to an inflation targeting framework, and strategies to restore purchasing power and ease economic hardship. He stated that the actions taken by the CBN have yielded measurable progress, relative stability in the FX market, narrowing exchange rate disparities, and a rise in external reserves to over $40 billion as of December 2024. But despite this methodology and the change, regional disparities in the cost of living still persist. Now, I hope we can get the breakdown, but if we can't, that's fine. Looking at some of the top most expensive states in Nigeria as of January 2025, number 10, you have Kano with an all-item inflation rate of 12.51%, I think. And the ninth state there is Borno State with an all-item rate of 12.52% in January of 2025. And the next state is Zamfara State. Zamfara all items inflation rate from 39.63% in December 2024. And then up next is Rivers State, of course, remains one of the costliest states in Nigeria with all item inflation rate of 13.84%. And then Enugu ranks 6th amongst Nigeria's most expensive states with an all inflation rate of 14.69% as of January 2025. And then up next is Kaduna, and its inflation rate for all items stood at 14.82% in January 2025. And then up next is Abia State with a recorded inflation rate of 15.38% as of January 2025. And then following Abia State, up next is Katsina State and ranks 3rd on the list with an all items inflation rate of 15.99%. That's pretty quite high, and we've been covering the stats for quite a while, and just the fluctuation of the cost of living in some of the states is pretty amazing, and it just changes frequently. And number 2 is Ebonyi, which remains Nigeria's most expensive state with an all inflation rate of 16.13% as compared to January 2025. And finally, before we get to our guest, Imo State is the most expensive state to live in Nigeria as of January 2025, and this is coming in from reporting from Naira Metrics. So those are the breakdown, and of course with the CPI rebasing, quite a lot to unpack. Let's go to Dr. Ali. Thank you so much for being with us on the show.
Thank you for having me.
So let's go to this new rebasing. As reported, I mean, this is something that ought to happen every 5 years. Is it timely that this is happening now? Recall the president said in January that he's going to reduce inflation to 15%. So is this the magic wand being used by the president to achieve this?
I think rebasing is a normal thing that should happen to every economy. The only challenge is that we stay for a long time without rebasing. Ideally, rebasing is supposed to be every 5 years. You rebase your economy so that you can know the true status of the economy, because rebase actually exposes you to the actual reality. So moving ahead now, if you now ask me now, I would say rebasing generally in this direction has actually helped Nigeria to know the status. However, we have rebased last in 2009. That was the last time we rebased. And we calculated that about 14 years ago. So we now have to rebase now. CBN now think of rebasing. We're now rebasing it to now 2024. So looking at it for 2024, we now justify how much the standard of our living are. However, it also reflects, according to the NBS, they actually also make sure that they change the basket. The basket usually is about 750 items that we used to look into, but now we are looking at about 960 items when you are looking at when you are quantifying or evaluating the inflation rate and other commodities in Nigeria. So for rebasing, I think it's a good one. The question now is that, is it favorable? Does it make a difference in the market? These are the questions we must ask.
Now, when the president said he was going to reduce inflation, was this how you expected it to become a reality? I mean, from 34 to 24.
Right. I don't think it has fall inflation rates. You know, there's a difference between fall and drop. I think we are having an issue with nomenclature here. But to make it clearer for Nigerians, the rebasing does not really fall the inflation. It does not reduce the level of inflation in Nigeria. It does not change the cost of goods and services in Nigeria. It does not reduce rent. It does not reduce transport. It does not have any effect on the commodities that we buy. The only thing is that it's only change in number. So we have 34.8 before. Now it has dropped to 24. It does not fall it does not have any effect on the price of goods and services.
So do you suspect that this administration is going to relapse its proactiveness in reducing inflation? Because when it was 34, we were all screaming, food is high, house rent is expensive, the cost of transportation, everything is on the high side. Now it's down to 24%. That's definitely going to calm the nerves of people, because when you say 24%, looking at where you're coming from 34%, I mean, well, do you think that could, dampen the proactiveness of government in tackling inflation crisis?
Well, for the stand of inflation that we have now, I don't think you recall that president said he's targeting 15% inflation by December, and some of us economists said it's a how do I call it? It's over ambitious, not even ambitious. It's much more over ambitious to expect that. Even as it is now, I don't see us losing. Even with this rebase of 24, I don't see us losing that 9% until we go extra mile to do things. And you recall that we are in 2025 already, and this is February. By next 2 weeks or thereabout, we are going to commence March, which is the first quarter is about to end. So for me, I don't see it coming down beyond what it is now.
Now, let me take you to some of the thoughts shared by the CBN governor on Monday regarding the progress that has been made so far and some of the things that they want to do to ensure that inflation drops. Now, there's quite a lot on their side, scoring themselves pretty high. But you're the economist, away from propaganda, what makes sense to you?
Right. I think the rebasing of the economy have positive externalities. I think I should put it in that way. Simply because as we rebase now, it's going to position Nigeria better in terms of economy, in terms of external view. So most external investors, especially for foreign direct investment, I think Nigeria is better now, because they also, when you're coming to invest in a country, you look at it very well, that how you look at the macro economy of that economy. And the first thing you look at is the inflation. So now we have 24% inflation. It's much more attractive compared to 4%. And investors will now have confidence. So I think this has boosted confidence of the investors to come in. And now also, by the time we rebase our GDP, our GDP has not been rebased. According to the NBS man, he said he's actually consulting further so that they can really rebase GDP without further challenges. So by the time GDP is rebased, we'll be much more buoyant. We'll return to the first in Africa economy. We'll also look good. In fact, per capita income of me and you will also increase. So these are the things that it will bring. So it will bring much more positive externalities. However, we have challenges of coordination, like rightly mentioned. You see, You recall during Emefiele, there was a time when Emefiele was changing the currency, the Minister of Finance came out and said, our fiscal policy, monetary policy, even our trade policy, they must all come together to actually work for us. And that's why some of us, when we are scoring this economic policy so far, we say that we can only give them patchy 5/10, which is average. They need to do more to better Nigerian laws, because even this rebasing, I hope it will not be a point of how do I call it? A point of a lullaby for Nigeria.
Now, let's talk about what government can do to reduce inflation. I was looking at food inflation, a particular report from Kano State saying inflation is down. And I mean, a lot of things, especially the price of rice has gone down. And talking about Kano, it's not on this current list of top 10 most expensive states to live in Nigeria. Do you agree with that narrative?
When you say slight reduction from inflation, I can't recall that we have reduced inflation, because you recall that the Unitide, the festival gone, and maybe because January as it were, things tend to slow down. Perhaps that's why the result of February may slow down the April. But I assure you, it will still move to normalcy by March, because the challenge of Forex is still there. The challenge of poor production is still there, and other legacy problems are still there in Nigeria.
All right, Dr. Ali, our time is almost up. Thank you once more again for sharing your expertise on politics now.
Thank you for having me.
And that's our show, folks, tonight. Thank you so much for watching on this issue of inflation. I mean, it's really, really the reality on ground that things are pretty expensive, and rebasing, as good as it sounds for investors, doesn't really make any sense to the reality that's on ground. Things are pretty expensive. What's more important, it's not just painting the economy to look so good before investors, but what will be done to bring down the cost of living. And that's one of the things that President Tinubu said he is going to do. How will he do that, given the fuel crisis in the country? All of this and more we will be watching out this year as the president and his economic team continue to work in ensuring that Nigeria's standard of living goes up than where it is presently. That's all we can take on the show today. Many thanks for watching. Once again, my name is Morno Balagubo. Bye for now.